living my life in a slow hell. Different girl every night at the hotel.
Sounds rough.
I ain't seen the sunshine in 3 damn days.
I was thinking of this song today for some reason.
You were?
Yeah.
21 years ago.
Whiskey.
Got kicked out of my place in
I had
Nashville
a good girl to miss me.
twice.
He actually sings well.
He does.
Lord, I wonder if I'll ever change my ways.
You know how he like pretends to be a trailer park kid?
I put
Yeah, he really looks
No, he's not though. His
do you-
parents, he's a trust fund kid. His parents own car dealerships in Michigan.
Oh.
He just made him. He just basically took what they gave him and turned into a rock star. So you gotta give him credit for that.
Yeah. But then I love Sheryl Crow.
I put your picture.
I was always so pissed off when they allowed that chick from the Bee. When we were there, you were there.
Yeah, I was there.
Yeah, Sheryl Crow came in and then she did a interview with Sheryl Crow.
Yeah.
And it's like,
Jesse-
so, you like to run? You run, Cheryl? I run too. Oh my gosh. I was like, God damn it, why can't we do this?
Yeah, I remember. That's why they're jocks and not talk show hosts. Or at least let the afternoon guy talk to her.
Well, I mean, I think that girl was just nervous, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
But Sheryl Crow's very pretty.
Peter and I were doing the podcast in the next room. Do you remember that too?
No.
Peter and I were taping our own little podcast at the time.
Wait, you had a
And
podcast?
yeah, Pete Monterano and I had a podcast together. And that's how I ended up getting the sports radio job like a couple years later, was because of my podcast with Peter.
I didn't know
But
that.
like everyone's watching her in the green room, and Peter and I are doing a podcast in the studio next door.
Yeah.
And people keep looking at us because Sheryl Crow keeps, who are those two idiots? I'm here playing my songs. I'm Sheryl Crow, and you got these two yo-yos
Wow,
in the next room doing a podcast.
I have a funny feeling she just thought you were hot.
Maybe.
She was like, God damn, why isn't he in my show?
I remember we talked about it afterwards. Like, yeah, Sheryl Crow's not as hot as she used to be.
Whoa!
Didn't we talk
Who
about
said that?
Oh,
Did I say
all
something
three
that
of us
awful?
talked about it.
I don't think I would say anything as such a thing about a woman ever. Just because the Rolling Stones said time will destroy a building in a woman's face. I don't know. 21 years ago, this song. I can't believe it was 21 years ago. Sure, because my son, who just turned 22 yesterday, was just a little child, and his cousins were over, and one of the little girls kept singing this song. My mommy loves this song, and she kept singing it, and I remember it. The picture. But we are at Jimmy Z's Plates and Shakes. You know, Danny, speaking of sports, have you followed this story? We'll do two lighter sports stories. I'll let you kind of pontificate on the Bills a little bit. I know you're Danny's like a locomotive. What? You know what I'm saying?
Go ahead.
Like you start out. It's like,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if you're
I got
like
problems.
an Asian locomotive that just shoots really fast.
I'm a bullet
like,
train.
You're a bullet train in Japan or
Yeah,
something.
I got to work on that.
No, you don't. It's fine.
work on
But you don't have to work on it. It's fine. I was just picking on you. But I'll let you say that. But have you followed this story about the Kansas City fans? Have you noticed? Have you heard this?
4 of them ended up dead in somebody's
Three of them ended up
in
dead.
somebody's backyard.
So there are 5
after the game.
There are 5 guys watching the game.
Mm-hmm.
3 of the guys are now dead. One guy left before midnight and went home. The guy whose house it was claims he passed out for 2 days, didn't hear the phone, and had like noise canceling sleep something headphones on. I hope I'm not conflating
Okay.
stories here.
Huh.
but
I wonder who did it.
No. So, well, interesting because people are coming. This guy now has checked himself into rehab. I think more for a mental break because he's getting from around the country people saying, you killed your friends. What did you do? Blah, blah, blah. These guys were, I believe, in their maybe mid to late 30s. No, healthy guys, not, I mean, one of them probably looked like they'd have a heart attack in 10 years, but that's 10 years.
Yeah, 10 years.
But I think one of the fathers of these guys are going, something happened. He knows something. He knows something. So this guy does know something. The autopsies are done. They just haven't released the findings, so they know how these guys died. They froze to death outside. Now, but what was the contributing factor to that? So I did catch this on Fox News.
A close source telling Fox Nation, not only is the whole country accusing him of murdering his friends without factual details, evidence, or any charges at this time, but he also lost 3 close friends. So what happened? Here with reaction forensic pathologist and Fox News contributor, Dr. Michael Bodden. Doctor,
Hi.
good morning.
Good morning, Steve.
It's so puzzling because Mr. Willis, of the 4 people who were in the house that night, there was a 5th, but he left at midnight. Of the 4 people, he's the one guy whose house it was and the one guy who didn't die.
Yeah, but it sounds like from what's been released so far that he slept for a long period of time. It may be that all 4 of them took something that made them pass out. He passed out indoors and slept it off. They passed out in the cold weather and snow.
All making
and within an hour,
makes
the body
somewhat sense.
temperature would go
but
down
how
from
could all
98
3 guys
degrees
pass out? You know what I'm
to
saying? Like
80
one guy's not going to be
degrees,
somewhat
and the
constant.
heart
Go, let's get back inside.
Rhythm
Right.
goes awry, and the person dies of a cardiac arrest.
He says something in here that stood out to me.
Because of the cold, hypothermia. And the toxicology will be very helpful because the toxicology will tell us the level, what was present, and the level. This may be just a recreational
Now, I'm surprised
level,
this hasn't happened with Bills fans, by the way.
It's so puzzling because it would be one thing if it was one person, but the simultaneous deaths of 3 people?
Yeah.
You're absolutely right. The most common simultaneous deaths are caused by carbon monoxide, but that's indoors. Or
Not outdoors.
Outdoors, you don't die of carbon monoxide. And that's why I think that they took something that drug users commonly.
You're saying they all took
all
something.
4 may have taken the same unknown. They may not have known what was in the material they were taking, and they got confused. They passed out. One passes out indoors and sleeps it off. The others are outdoors and die of the cold. And I'm sure the police already know. They were at the scene. They got information from the scene, what was used and not. I'm sure this Willis person is talking and cooperating with what he knows. The police are looking for whoever supplied the drug, and when they find out, they'll release the information. They know the cause of death. They know what the toxicology is by now.
So the cops, the KC cops are...
So, I don't know if I pause it. I think he says in there, there are certain levels of fentanyl that you can take that won't kill you, but it'll make you pass out, right? And if you're just a recreational user or it's in a drug that you're doing or whatever, and somebody has said they were doing drugs at that house, I have no idea. But for 3 guys to go outside, pass out, and freeze to death is freaky.
Yeah.
And it's a freak coincidence.
When did they find them dead, though? Did,
the next day.
Okay.
I think somebody went over, one of the girlfriends, one of the fiancés, like, where the fuck is he? And went over to the house, finally looking
Didn't
for
they
him.
wake up the dude who was like...
Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
All right.
but they were calling and calling. He's not answering. So I think this one of the guy's fiancés went over and found him frozen, you know.
Well, that pathologist, was that a pathologist, they said? The forensic dude, whoever he was, he gave a pretty reasonable explanation for what may have happened.
Well, he's saying later on, I didn't let it go long enough. He says there's different types of fentanyl that will be put in drugs, and if you're not, used to it, it'll just, you'll pass out. Mm-hmm. You may pass out for an extended, sleep it off. He goes, but you can't sleep it off outside.
No,
that's the thing. So I don't know how high these guys all of a sudden wander in the backyard. And one of them fell down, so somebody else goes out.
I need some air.
You
know what I'm saying? Like you feel like you're going to pass it. Yeah,
because I don't think this guy murdered him, but God, you'd have to move.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're that guy, you got to move.
Yeah.
And he can no longer root for the Kansas City Chiefs, and we don't want you in Bill's Mafia either. We don't want you.
Imagine being the real estate agent, Stephanie I taking that house. So it's been lived in. It's been died in, too.
One other sports thing that's kind of grabbing some, let's say, back page news back in the day would be the Panthers have a new head coach, Dave Canales.
Yes.
Dave Canales, who was
the Tampa Bay offensive
coordinator, and I think before that with the Seahawks.
Mm-hmm.
He has a book that he and his wife wrote. Did you know about this?
No.
Oh, yeah. Yes. He revealed scandalous details about his infidelity, pornography addiction, and binge drinking in a book he co-authored with his wife 16 months before becoming the head coach. Canales and wife Lizzie penned a faith-based book called This Marriage? The Question That Changed Everything. And they revealed how he overcame past addictions. So I guess he had I don't know. He said, I was living a secret life. No matter how hard I tried to going to church, reading my Bible, and praying, I always had a secret, a dark place that was just mine. And
that happens.
He published a book in September 2022 when he was still with the Seahawks as a position coach before he got his big break with the Buccaneers. We wanted other people to feel safe starting the journey toward a vibrant marriage by helping them see they're not alone, the couple wrote in the book's preface. And so I guess he had a big...
I did not know this.
Well, he's a boring guy now, but, man, he was a shit ton of fun to hang out with before.
Well, everybody talks about the most refreshing coach in the NFL is Mike McDaniel. Which is often the kiss of death.
Yeah.
Because when the media anoints you as someone they like, bad things usually follow, right? So McDaniel is a very interesting dude. He's not your Mike Ditka type.
No, he's not.
Or Tom Landry type. He's the exact, he's not a Sean McDermott either.
No.
Okay? He's an offensive genius, but he had his problems. He had a drinking issue. He had to go to rehab. He hasn't had a drink, I guess, in 8 or 9 years now.
Wow.
But, I mean, these guys, when you become an NFL coach, man, you are in the office literally 18 hours a day, 7 days a week. There are no days off between
a little porn break in there
between the start of training camp until about the end of the draft.
Yeah,
you're pretty much or minicamp. Like the only month you get to yourself is maybe June.
All right,
the other 11 months.
Let me go back to this though for a second. Like I get having the problem. It's between you and your wife. You work it out. Then she says to you, I don't know who comes up with the idea for writing a book, but I'm thinking it's her.
Oh, it's always her.
I got to think.
Like Jim Kelly, his wife wrote the book.
I think
not him.
I think it's got to be her.
It's always her
talking about this stuff because she's probably very, very hurt by it.
Yeah.
But here's my thing. Now everybody knows, and when I say everybody, I want you to think of everybody in your life. Mm-hmm. Your mom,
your
mom
sister,
knows.
your brothers.
Yes, your sister knows.
Your grandmother.
Your grandmother knows.
Your great aunts who are judgmental of everything.
Your cousins,
like that commercial, the Geico commercial.
Dad,
we have aunts.
Your kindergarten teacher. Your high school coach who's proud that you're a coach. He now knows
your pastors.
all this stuff. Now, I think some people won't be that judgmental about it. But I don't know, like, I mean, part of the reason, and I've talked about it on the podcast, that I went and lived in Utah was I had a little bit, I dug looking at porn. I used to go buy the glossiest, shiniest, most filthy magazines I could find back in the day. My father goes, if I ever find this in the house again, you can't live here. And I said, you'll never find it. And he did. And his big point was like, look, man, I don't want that in here. You got a brother who's 8 years younger than you. This is my house. Not cool. I get it now. I got it then, but I didn't appreciate it.
Yeah.
And I would say that it's not a great habit to be in. It's not. There's just. I think they've proven many times there's more detriment to it than benefit.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you get off, you feel good, whatever. But repeatedly, it can hurt relationships. It can hurt you physically. It can. You lack motivation sometimes if you're doing a lot of that. I mean, that's all I'm taking. Not even biblical stuff. Not even sinning. I'm just saying life. Right,
just life.
Right
It leads to problems.
But I don't want to sit down and put pen to paper with my wife, and then I have to relive every time how much it hurt her. You told me once how many times we got to go around the block on this would be my thing.
Do you think
it's
that
terrible?
She put the guilt trip on? Hey, look,
I don't know.
You owe me.
Maybe it was him. Maybe he decided. I can't say.
I know, but I'm asking you. Do you think?
Yes, I do.
On a scale of 1 to 100,
I'm going to be 100%. A complete dick, and if you think I'm an asshole, fine.
I'm 80% sure this was her idea.
She made him write the book and said, if you want to hold this together and have a really good life, I will help you. I will help, but you got to admit everything to everybody. And by the way, in a book that we can take out anytime you start to slip. And we'll go back to chapter 7. Did you remember chapter 7? That's what it's going to be.
Hookers and booze.
Yeah, that's it. All right, real quick, Danny, we're going to be wrapping it up here at Jimmy Z's Plates and Shakes. Bobby Babbage, good hire, bad hire?
Don't know.
Okay.
And anybody who says they do know is a liar because they don't know.
No.
He interviewed with the Dolphins.
I think there was disappointment that somebody with more experience who may have been a head coach, as Greg Connor said yesterday, I like leaders who will compensate for their weaknesses by hiring people who can do that. Great CEOs, great leaders a lot of times will say, hey, look, I'm not great at this, so I'll hire someone smarter than me in this area, and we'll be fantastic.
Yes.
And that was sort of Greg's thinking. Greg didn't say this guy would be bad.
No,
he was
we don't know.
Yeah, we don't know.
He's one of these media guys who says all the right things.
Who's that?
Bobby Babbage.
Bobby Babbage.
But yeah, so did Brandon Staley.
Yeah.
And now he's back with the Rams as a defensive coordinator.
Okay.
Why? Because people get, like, the media loves great sound bites. But then when you start losing, those great sound bites don't sound so good. And with Babbage, he sounds great in front of a camera. Let's
Is
see
it
if he can
Babbage?
coach
I
him.
keep calling him Babbage.
It could be Babbage, but
I don't know,
think his
'cause
father was a defensive coordinator for the Bears around Rivera's time. Too.
I always say that he sounds like a baseball player. Bobby Babbage.
It's funny because when
I don't know, maybe it is Babbage.
well, here's a funny story. When Dick Geron became the Bills head coach, he wanted to bring Bob Babbage Sr. to be the defensive coordinator. I think Rivera or Lovie Smith, the Bears, said no.
And they took him?
No, we're keeping him. So they ended up going with Perry Fewell. And Perry Fewell ended up coordinating the defense for the Giants that beat Bill Belichick and won the second Super Bowl.
Yeah.
You know, now Fewell wouldn't have gotten that chance if the Bears hadn't said no. Now his son, Babbage's son, is now the Bills' defensive coordinator. We'll see if McDermott allows him to call plays.
Yeah.
We don't know. Here's what we do know: if the Bills' defense succeeds and he gets a head coaching job, it doesn't matter who was successful or not, whether it was McDermott or Babbage. Babbage is going to move on to become a head coach. Okay, if the defense sucks, he's going to get thrown to the lions by McDermott. You can put that in freaking ink.
Yeah.
Dan Barello said it here first on Billified. Okay? He's going to be thrown to the freaking wolves. That's what's going to happen because that's how the organization. I mean, Joe Brady should not be the offensive coordinator of the Buffalo Bills.
I'm surprised if Frank Reich wasn't brought back.
The reason they'll never bring Frank Reich back is because McDermott would always be looking over his shoulder. Same reason why they didn't bring Ron Rivera in to take the job.
Yeah.
There's another head coach here?
Yeah.
Oh.
You think so?
He's paranoid.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you what. And here's the thing. I said this as soon as I saw this yesterday. As soon as I saw that Ben Johnson was coming back to the Lions as the offensive coordinator, and as soon as Bobby Slowick was going to come back as the offensive coordinator of the Texans, I go, the tweets about him being, either of these guys, being the next head coach of the Buffalo Bills in 3, 2, 1.
Did it happen?
Oh, yeah. Everybody was talking about it.
Come on.
Everybody kept saying, oh, yeah, if McDermott F's up. And by the way, there's a pretty good chance the Bills aren't going to make the playoffs next year.
Yeah, but that
let
could
me tell
be
you
more,
why.
Well, I think it could be because of the salary cap.
Salary cap's part of it, but here's the dilemma, Billy. Everybody's getting better in the conference. And by everybody, I mean everybody. Okay? Let's start with our own division. Guess who's coming back? Aaron Rodgers with the Jets.
Yeah.
Okay?
But I'm hearing it's been chaos down there.
It has, but he's still a pretty chaos brought them to 4 NFC championship games in Green Bay, right? Joe Burrow. He's the one guy who, like, somebody wrote this, and it's kind of interesting. If you looked at Allen and you looked at Burrow, Allen's blood pressure kind of goes up against the Chiefs, where Burrow, he stays pretty calm.
Yeah.
He's not intimidated. I'm not saying that Allen's intimidated, but I'm saying Burrow's like, okay, I got this.
Yeah.
Watch me beat them. And he's done it. Okay? Burrow's going to come back. Now, I don't know what's going to happen in Cleveland, but Deshaun Watson's going to come back. Maybe they can fix him. There's always these teams, too, that we don't expect they're going to show up and play well. Is it the Patriots next year? And, oh, by the way, Jim Harbaugh's coaching the Chargers. And
they're not going to the Super Bowl next year.
Trevor Lawrence is still the quarterback of the Jags.
Well, I've seen him.
That's going to be a tough
picks.
conference.
Yes,
and I'm telling you, maybe that's what the Bills need. But, man, I'll be rooting for them, and I want them to win the Super Bowl. But it's going to be harder next year than it is this year.
Yeah, and if they do it?
If they do it, great.
Okay.
Yeah, dude, I'll be on a bender. I might end up with those guys in Kansas City. I might not have to live to see the next day to enjoy it. I'm joking. I'm not going to do that. I don't do drugs.
All right, Jimmy Z's Plates and
F
Shakes.
around and find out.
Rockin' Brockport every Wednesday through Sunday right here on Main Street. 21 years. Jimmy looks fantastic.
Yes, he does.
The food is delicious. Get out here and celebrate something
water.
that really has become like a, like you said, I hadn't heard about Jimmy Z's Plates and Shakes until I came out here. Jimmy?
Thank you for listening.
Yes.
Thank you for being...
Thank you for supporting.
Thanks for having us.
I wouldn't have it any other way, my man.
I was just saying, Jimmy looks fantastic.
Oh,
I love the run to Z's and the run, like the run DMCs.
I made this hat literally 10 years ago,
Yeah.
and I pulled the stickers off it this morning. Just for today.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so,
That's awesome.
and thank you for the support, and thank you for getting us where we are today. Love everybody. Thank you so much, Monroe County and the surrounding counties, for bringing us to where we are today.
That's right. Jimmy Z's Plates and Shakes.
Jimmy Zed, as they say in Canada.
For Jimmy Zed.
And in Australia.
In Australia. For Jimmy Zed, actually in Ireland, too.
Yeah.
Yeah. For Jimmy Zed. For Jimmy Zed.
Oh, Zed. McZed.
Big Zed. For Dan Barillo, I'm Bill Moran. We'll see you tomorrow.
Down in the know we was up to, they wouldn't let us in, and now we landed in Memphis like original sin. Elvis Presley Boulevard to the Graceland gates. See, we were looking for a Cadillac with Tennessee.